Hi everyone, welcome back to Atrium Research's YouTube channel. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing Elaine Ellingham, the CEO of Omai Gold Mines. Omai is a company within our coverage which trades on the TSXV under the symbol OMG. We currently have a buy rating and $1.60 per share target price on the company. Omai has been on a great run over the last few years since we started and initiated coverage on the company. And Elaine, we're going to talk about this morning's press release, which is quite interesting. So good to have you here today.
Great. Thanks, Ben.
So with that, Elaine, we've got a couple slides up here that you're going to share with us, but the long-awaited long hole is finally out. Some exciting results that we'll talk about. So I'll leave it to you to go through the strategy around this hole and then the results that came out this morning.
Great. Will do. Yeah. Yeah. So as you know, we obviously have been working away at the Wenot deposit, and I think we've put out four resource estimates on it, the most recent at the end of August. And so really our focus has been on the Wenot deposit, and we also have the adjacent Gilt Creek deposit that you can see on the left on this slide. And so we were we said we were going to put two drill holes through the Gilt Creek deposit. It had some historical drilling we could rely on to build our resource. So when we drilled across that, on the first hole, we thought, if we kept going, we'd actually go under the Wenot deposit at depth because it's only about 450 meters away. And so, the Wenot deposit's one of these shear-hosted deposits, and so, typically they go to depth, and it's not that the Wenot deposit isn't large enough on its own. It's got about 4.7 million ounces, mostly in the inferred category, but still large. So we decided to extend that second hole. We drilled through the upper part of the upper deposit, the Gilt Creek deposit, to the north and kept going. And it was a slow go at the end, but we made it to just past 2,000 meters. And in fact, we discovered the Wenot shear continues a full 700 meters down below the known deposit, and some good gold results this morning from it. So it was like it was a win to actually hit the shear, but a big win to hit mineralization.
Yeah, absolutely. And so maybe you can just talk about quickly, and I know you sort of just mentioned it there, but the strategy around drilling this hole. Of course, it was convenient to be able to go under there from Gilt Creek, but what, this isn't going to be included in a resource update in the near term. Why would you, spend this money and time to drill this hole?
Quite a few different reasons. One, when you build these large mines, you do want to have a sense of how long is the mine life, and what's the potential blue sky expansion. And it's one of those things that yeah, we believe we're going to move to our next PEA, but we believe we probably have a 15 to 20-year mine life. This would sort of be beyond that. And the other thing is it's actually more accessible. Normally, if you have that Wenot deposit and you hit something this deep underneath it, you'd go, oh, well, it's going to be a while before you can develop it. But the reality is part of the upcoming PEA, the mine plan is going to incorporate the Gilt Creek deposit. So there is going to be an underground on that. And so, a lot of mines do a lot of lateral development for long distances. This is only 450 meters. So if you're underground at Gilt Creek, it's only a short drift across to get to the other deposit. So it just opens up the possibility of more
Hmm.
mining areas and a larger production plan.
Yeah, and I guess additionally, it doesn't make sense economically to drill this deep to define a resource, but if you're already down there at Gill Creek, you know, shooting across to drill these holes, is much more economic at that point. But I think the overarching idea here is that this deposit is much larger than the already 6+ million ounce deposit that we're seeing today, and thereby, someone that's looking to maybe acquire the project or you guys, building a future mine plan. This is going to be a large mine for a very long time, and today's result shows that. I will point out one item that you mentioned in the press release, which was that this result today can or effectively doubles the size potential of the Wenot um, area. Can you just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean it's only one hole, so you can't make many conclusions, and it's a long way down there. But basically we saw the same mythologies. So if you look at the Wenot deposit, we're looking, and in that slide we're actually looking at the end of it. So it actually goes 2.5 kilometers along strike, and that is in our mineral resource estimate already. Um, so I mean, one hole doesn't tell you, how much is down there, but this shear that hosts the Wenot deposit, it's a very prominent structure, obviously. And structurally prepared ground is where the gold fluids can get to, which obviously happened here. But the upper part has a 2.5 kilometer strike length. So, if that translates to the lower part, which there's no reason why it wouldn't, and then of course it has to be also have the gold mineralization, but if you have a 2.5 kilometer strike length down there, then I think you can just visually see that there's room to put, the Wenot again down at that lower level. Um, so that's sort of, I guess it's kind of funny because one single hole in a 2.5 kilometer long deposit, it doesn't seem like much, but the chances of hitting gold in lots of people's deposits is very low. But I think it speaks to how many zones and how much mineralization is in that system.
Hmm. Well, and you did intersect in that section that you intersected that were not deposit there, multiple gold zones, not just one. Some were lower grade over wider intervals, and then some were pretty consistent, decent 4 to 5 gram material. I'm not sure if you have another slide on that, Elaine, to show some different perspectives here, but there we go. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So yeah, absolutely. And this kind of mirrors what we would see in the upper Wenot. There's multiple zones, the lithologies were the same. We have the sediments on the north on the left side there, and then the central contact that has the quartz feldspar porphyry and some shearing, and then the sediments to the south. So yeah, so as usual, there's zones up in the volcanics associated with our dike corridor. Not as extensive as some places we see above, but the central contact was nice. It was running like 1.8 over 5.5 meters, and just beside that, in the sediment side, you were getting the 5.12 over 3.6 meters. And then there were several zones in the sediments, and that's not unusual. We see that in some parts of the upper part of Wenot. The mineralization can be, dominantly on the sediment side or dominantly on the volcanic side. And so in this one, we're seeing it more on the sediment side. What when one little a little sad thing. I mean, it's good news, but actually, the last zone was only 5 meters from the end of the hole, which
Hmm.
I think we all shed a little bit of a tear. I could see it in the core, but I mean, this hole far exceeded our expectations. Drillers did a great job. The orbit guys are amazing, and so we got to 2,014 meters, which was a huge success. But looking at that last box of core, we could see gold mineralization. It was like, oh man, but so we didn't get to the far side of the shear. So what happens beyond that? I think it's going to be a while before we're down there again, but yeah, it's a good news story.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And again, it would have been great to see the true extent and the true width, but it is what it is. 2 kilometers of a drill hole is quite substantial, and you can even see here it was almost flat at this point, which is quite neat. So, I guess firstly, congrats on this. I think it's a great sort of storytelling point of view to show the upside potential that there is a ton of material down well below where the current deposit is that could be upside resource growth in a future scenario. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on this part before we ask about the general program?
No, I mean, I guess the other point is that, the Omai mine was in production before, and as we all know, I mean, it was in the very low gold price environment at $400, and I think it touched down at $250 an ounce when it was in production. But it produced, basically it was about a 10, 12 year mine life. And that's great for companies, making money and everything else, but it's not the best case scenario for the people that work at the mine. it's like you got your dream job for 10 or 12 years, and then it's like, okay, what do I do next? And where do I get a job like that again? So I think what we're also showing is that this has the potential to be a multi-generational mine. So, and I think that's a big win for Guyana.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. No, certainly, and it does sound like you have a ton of support from the government as well as the surrounding communities. So I imagine they're happy to see this hole as well. And I laugh because, of course, this area down at this depth wouldn't be mined for quite some time. And maybe you're not seeing 15 grams per ton yet. Again, this is one hole, but um, in 5 years, where's the gold price going to be? In 7 years, 10 years, 20 years? I think it's headed in the right direction, but this could be a very profitable underground mine at one point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, that's been a question that's come up, and we've focused on the large open pit size of Wenot, but there are certainly higher grade intervals. And I
Hmm.
mean, not just higher grade, but significant widths. Like, one of our out of the park ones was running, for 4.57 grams over 57 meters. But that's not alone. There's quite a few very, like, in the sediments at the west end of Wenot, we hit 4.07 grams over 31 meters. So, I have no doubt that somewhere down in these depths, there's going to be higher grade zones. That's typical of these systems and typical of Wenot.
Hmm. Hmm. Absolutely. And I know I sound like a broken record in some of my research notes where it's consistently, stellar, high grade, but over long, wide widths in the drill results that you've been reporting throughout the year. So maybe let's pivot to that. I guess more generally, can you update the listeners on the current exploration program, what you guys have been doing? You did have quite a positive press release recently. I think it was on just last week, November 3rd or so, on some, um, you know, high grade discoveries on new targets, showing some additional upside, but closer to surface. And one of those holes I had written down 20 grams per ton over 5 meters, quite substantial intercepts there. So maybe you can talk about the whole program, and then we can talk about the new targets as well.
Right. So I think, we're well funded, and that's one of the things. So, I always say when you know what you're doing and you're familiar with the geology and stuff, it makes sense to go as fast as you can. So, and that's what we're trying to do. I think that's what we're doing. So while we were doing the resource estimate for Wenot, we moved the drills onto some of the exploration targets. And some of them we've done trenching in the past, and we know there's shallow, almost at surface mineralization, and some interesting high grade zones. And so a lot of these are more related to structures around the Gilt Creek intrusion. So they're narrower structures, but as a lot of geologists will tell you, the narrow structures, you tend to get higher grade material. So we focused on those. We did some drilling. The BBH target actually has about a 500-meter strike length. So it's quite substantial near surface. Um, it's a little more structurally complex because it is related to structures related to the intrusion. So we have poked away at that a bit, but that was a big win, and that intersection I think was only something like 30 meters below surface, and there was another
Hmm.
zone. So we're starting to put the structural picture together there. The main issue is that if you can get even 10% of your mill feed in the first couple of years, near surface high grade, it is a big win, and it impacts the NPV, the IRR, and the payback
Yeah.
period all just improve. So we're not looking at big ounces, but I would say 100, 200,000 ounces at 5 grams is a big win for the economics, surprisingly enough.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And um, it's exciting now that you do have this budget, you're able to, really target these maybe more blue sky areas as opposed to infill drilling and looking for resources closer to the existing deposit. I guess more generally, I believe you have 5 drills turning. Everything's moving along very quickly. What are some of the other drills doing right now? And then that'll lead me into, um, you know, how the resource was in August, but you've been continuing to hit great results, and so that sort of pushed out the reporting of the updated PEA into next year. So let's talk about that sort of whole.
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes delays are for the wrong reasons, but for us, often it's for the good reasons. So, for example, we actually were aiming to put out our resource in February, our updated resource in February, but when we were hitting great stuff, we went, no, this doesn't make sense. Let's keep drilling. And so as a result, in just over a year's drilling, we added 2.2 million ounces to Wenot. So almost all in the inferred category, but it starts to sort of give the picture of how big that thing is. So for the 5 drills have been working mostly on the south side of the Wenot deposit because we hadn't drilled a lot there because when we started hitting the big wide zones and the high grade zones, we really focused on the north again last year. So we need to drill from the south to basically look at the zones within the sediments as they're going to bring the strip ratio down from the pit. So we have, and some of those, what we're doing is we're doing the parent hole and then we're doing a wedge, which brings us up to give us a second cut. And then on a few holes, we're actually putting a second wedge. And that gives us a really good drill concentration that allows us to do a few things, expand the resource by adding material in the sediments, and then extra cuts, extra drill holes through the other zones on the north side that's going to bring some of that inferred into indicated. So these are all big wins. So we've been doing that. We're just starting to move one of the drills to the north side. We should have some more results coming out. The lab's been a little backlogged. I think that's been hitting a few companies these days, but we expect a lot more results over the next few weeks, and so stay tuned for those.
Great. Well, yeah, certainly looking forward to it, and I imagine they'll continue to piggyback on all the great results you've been reporting all year. Um, Leading into that upcoming PEA, are you looking to upgrade the resource again prior to that PEA, but with all the drilling in between? Is that the plan?
Yeah, initially we were just going to blast through, but I think given how much we're drilling, we're going to have to do a quick resource update. And so we're just trying to figure out where to put the pin in it to do that
Yeah.
in order to get that PEA going. There are aspects of the PEA that can go forward independent of getting that updated resource, but yeah, I think it's worth doing that updated resource again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and like you mentioned, there was a pretty substantial increase from the previous resource to the one that you announced in August, and I imagine there will be a decent one again, which is quite exciting, and that's further leading into the PEA, which we believe it's going to be quite shocking of a difference from the last one, and is a big catalyst for the company. So with that, my only other question that we didn't really touch on was going back to the long hole. You drilled through the Gilt Creek deposit. You have not announced those results yet, but those should be coming in the near term.
Yeah, so no surprise. I mean, we're drilling through the deposit. So I think we noted we drilled through 699 meters of the intrusion. And that, we're drilling historically, the holes were from the bottom of the pit, so they're vertical, so we're drilling across it. But we know that's a deposit. So obviously we hit gold mineralization. Um, the Gilt Creek deposit's very different. It's an intrusion. It's actually not very exciting looking. Wenot rocks are fantastic. The Gilt Creek kind of mundane looking, but it has quartz veins within it that have a lot of visible gold, obviously. And so the better analytical method is using metallic screening, and it was highly recommended. So we have those in at the lab, but obviously if you have 699 meters of mineralization, maximum width is about 100, maximum width is 1.5. So essentially you're looking at probably there's about 500 samples. So
Right.
because we're doing metallic screening, it takes longer. It's we expect it any week, but that's what we've heard for a while. So I'm afraid to say it anymore. But
Mm-hmm.
we should get those at any point in time. They
Yeah.
should be soon.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, you've got all of these different um, things going on, drilling throughout Wenot, the new exploration targets, this Gilt Creek results, resource update coming, PEA as well. So, um, Elaine, appreciate the time this morning. Thanks for fitting this in and talking about the long-awaited long hole.
Oops.
And we appreciate the time today.
For sure. Thanks, Ben.
Okay, you have a good day.
Bye.
Thank you.